Well, the first panel is related to, the whole exhibition is related to psychosis and postpartum psychosis. So those portraits that I did of my children, I've been making an oil painting of them perennially, and the project won't be over until they're both 18. The idea is to show all the portraits juxtaposed together to make one composite portrait. So the first portrait started when the children were still in the womb. And the idea behind this project is to help to consolidate my bond with my children, because I'm dealing with quite a serious mental health condition, schizoaffective disorder, and a voice called Fred in my head, which can be very testing at times, particularly when I had psychosis and postpartum psychosis. Fred tried to get in the way of my relationship with my children. So I use art to cement that connection and to counter Fred's negative voice. So this postcard panel, again, I've been working with an organization in Brussels called Chaos, and a psychiatrist called Dr. Tace, and I was invited to create a postcard. It was part of a postcard project, so all the people that created a postcard had a link with mental health. And then I continued, and I thought, oh, it's quite nice making postcards, because as a mother with 2 children, my time is quite limited. So with a postcard, you can make a mini masterpiece in an afternoon. So I started off with 1, and then 2, and then I thought, oh, what about if I do 1,000? So I've done 180, and then I started to collaborate with my son. So he makes squiggles, and then I transform the squiggles into ethereal landscapes. And that's where Sophie comes in. She's another of my alter egos. There's Fred, he's the devil. Sophie, she's the dreamer. Maya, she's the diva. And then there's the warrior, who gets me out of the hole. And my son also would say, oh, Mommy, draw a dinosaur. Oh, look, I found this. Can you draw this? And again, it was a way for me to have this really close relationship with my children and counter what was going on, like the mental warfare. Because it is like going to war on a daily basis. You never know what you're going to be told to do. Usually it's Fred's like, jump out the window, your art's all rubbish, you're no good, everyone thinks you're a loser. And so I'm not on medication, so art is my substitute for medication, but I have to do a hell of a lot to keep well. It's sort of off the scale. I mean, in terms of this exhibition, I prepared 700 pieces because Fred told me to, when I only could show a fraction of that, and I wasn't able to counter, I wasn't able to disobey. I had to obey, to the point where I was exhausted. I mean, to put the show on, it nearly killed me, you know, because it's never enough. So this panel is a very personal panel because it's got portraits of my children and my parents. It's got drawings from my sketchbooks, which I created pre-psychosis, post-psychosis. It's also got my mother and baby drawings, because with both my children I had postpartum psychosis, which is, it's not postpartum depression. Postpartum psychosis is a completely different animal. Basically on the 3rd day after giving birth, you can experience awful visions, auditory and visual hallucinations, which involve yourself and your child, and they're absolutely terrifying. And I created these books while I was breastfeeding. I would draw both my children, again, to counter what I was seeing and hearing, and to help me focus on my children. So that panel is extremely personal to me. And then the other panel, part of it is related to White Wall, which is a film that I was commissioned to make by the UK Film Council just after the 2nd psychotic episode. And I was pregnant at the time. They made no concessions. I had to deliver it in 3 months. But actually making that film, it's about a little girl with mental health problems who doesn't fit in the world, and she tries to run to the end of the world to find answers. So it's quite a deep film. And had to draw everything. It was a Tehran, Brussels, London collaboration. And the other story is The Tree People. That's actually a story that I conceived in my 20s, but because of my mental health issues, because Fred said it was rubbish, I just put it in a drawer. So now, almost 20 years on, because I've got children, because I read so many children's books, I'm thinking, my children would love this. It's time to do something with it. So I have got a private investor who wants to take this book to the next level. I mean, to date, I've now published 9 books, but there are so many other books that I've written, and my output is definitely correlated with my hot brain. There's something in my brain that gives me this facility to just produce, you know. It just pours out. So yeah. But also, like, I want to write children's stories that reflect my world and my life. I mean, I don't read any stories with brown families or mixed race families or families with mental health problems, but for small children, because I'm educating my children now. My son knows about his mummy's hot brain, and he's known about it since the age of 2. He knows about Fred. He knows about the importance of sleep. This is now why I've come out. You know, I've got this book out, Schizophrenics Can Be Good Mothers Too, which I publish under a pseudonym, Kabir Islam. And Stephen Fry, who's a great supporter of my work since 2008, has endorsed it. He's written, it's absolutely unbelievably brilliant, which is very, very nice of him to write that. And this is why I've come out now, because it's for them, because I don't want them to have this thing. I don't want them to have to deal with Fred. So they might carry the gene, and other children born, you know, who have parents, one of whom might have a mental health problem, they might also carry the gene. So this is a massive mental health campaign that I'm embarking on, because you might not be able to save me, but you can definitely save a baby if they get the right education and they have the right insights. So that really motivates me. And then there's a photography wall, which is very much related to the work that I'm doing in Brussels with a mental health organisation, and a photographer, a Belgian photographer that I'm working with who has schizophrenia. And so we're doing this project where he takes photographs of me and I take photographs of him in a forest in Belgium. So 2 mad people taking portraits of each other, exploring concepts of madness. So instead of like a sane photographer taking a photograph of an insane person, we are doing it ourselves, you know, because it's when you come out with a hot brain, it's a massive stigma.